On the way down here, I heard it on WHYT, and I was really hoping the Necros were playing. And I'm really glad they did. Stay on yourself! You are respect, you gotta respect yourself!
Welcome to the Phillip Stark Show podcast. This segment is called The Scene, in which we discuss different music scenes and musicians who were part of them. Today, that musician is Todd Swalla. Hey, Todd.
Hello, Phil.
From Toledo, Ohio, which is also my hometown, Todd Swalla is a drummer. He was a founding member of the legendary hardcore band The Necros, and also played for many years with the punk / garage rock / blues band The Laughing Hyenas. Through these bands, Todd has toured with the likes of Black Flag, Bad Brains, Sonic Youth, and Minor Threat, to name a few. He's also played drums on stage with bands like The Misfits and Dinosaur Jr. Todd, you've obviously been part of the rock and roll scene for a long time, and it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Pleasure being here, Phil.
So how you doing right now with the quarantine?
Not bad, hanging in there.
So I can see that you're out there in beautiful California from your background.
Yes.
So Todd, we say we're from Toledo, Ohio. You're actually really from Toledo, Ohio. I grew up in Maumee.
Right. Yep. I grew up right on the border, so yeah, I was a border guy.
For people who don't know, it's not like there's a separation between Toledo, Ohio and Maumee. There's basically like a overpass or a bridge.
Yeah.
It's almost like the same city in a way. I'm here in Madrid, Spain. And, if I go to one of the punk rock bars here, I go to lots of them, you often see a Necros shirt. In fact, maybe I'll put on screen right now me with a guy I ran into.
Yeah, there you go.
Wearing a Necros shirt. There it is. So, the magic of editing. So, tell me, Todd, when and how did you get started in music?
Yeah, my mom was a music teacher, so we were kind of, I had piano lessons starting probably third grade.
How did you get into punk rock music, though?
We were listening to the Stooges and the MC5 early on when those records came out. I was like 8.
Because it's very typical for 8-year-olds to listen to MC5 and the Stooges.
Well, we did.
She had a TV on me. She had a TV on. She had a TV on me.
I mean, punk, it was like, 70s, 1977, and suddenly the Sex Pistols were on the national news like every night.
The Immigration Department tried to protect us from them, denying them visas for a few days late in December. But now they're here and they're loosed upon the land. They're the Sex Pistols.
Keep their mouth shut. Keep their mouth shut. And I'm right.
Right? So it's like, oh, this punk rock thing.
Why do you think this type of music appealed to you?
It was just fun to play the Ramones or something. You could play it really loud and it was really obnoxious. Right? It's like people just kind of turn their nose down at you. Right? It was like, what is this shit? Yeah, but because the songs were like, it wasn't like a 10-minute Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Opa, it was like 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about the Necros. How did the Necros start?
In the back of my mom's station wagon, coming home from the skate park.
So you guys were all skaters in 1977, right?
Yeah, we all met skating. So punk rock was on the news so let's start a band. We're like, okay. I mean, we didn't even try to play for a year after we came up with the concept, basically. So it was like
So you come up with the concept in the back of the car, let's start a punk rock band. I'll play drums, you'll play guitar. Just not even taking into account anyone's musical interest. It's like, I'll play drums, or what?
I was the drummer already.
Oh, you were? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Andy had a guitar, so it was he was the guitar player. I had drums and a bass and an amp. like at home. And my brother had a guitar and another bass, like a couple bass. So we already had a good amount of equipment laying around at my house, at least.
Did you come up with the name right then and there at that moment of conceptualization?
Yeah, threw around some others, like Red and the Circle Jerks was thrown around. Kind of this, just we wanted to come up with something that basically the parents would hate. Was kind of the.
That's pretty funny that you almost called yourselves the Circle Jerks because you ended up playing right with the Circle Jerks.
Well, right
at some point.
No, we toured. The last Necros tour was with the Circle Jerks, so that's fitting, right?
It's full circle. The first day the band came together, you almost called yourself the Circle Jerks, and then the last year that you played together, you played with the Circle Jerks.
We probably would have had to change our name anyway if we would.
Why did it take a year to have band practice?
I don't remember.
So how do you know it was a year?
It just did. Oh, I think it was like, okay, well, everybody learn how to play their instrument. So, and then we'll get together and jam, right? So, and it took a while.
Like we were like calling everybody like every week, like, did you learn your instrument yet? No. Did you learn it yet? No. 6 months later.
I was clueless. I didn't even know what the kick pedal was. Like, what do I do with this? Like, it just didn't like, 2 and 2 didn't like, add up. Like, what's that thumping noise in the background of the music was somebody with their foot, right? It's like, oh, okay. So, because they never really showed like, and any exposure I had to drumming at that point was probably like Buddy Rich on the Johnny Carson show. You want to see the drum set?
Let's see it.
Can you see it?
Wow, and that's the original drum set?
That's the drum set played at the last Misfits show.
Wow.
The band bought me that after a couple of Dead Kennedy shows that we opened for them. So we actually had some cash, so we bought a better drum set just for me. So.
And that was the drum set that you used at the first band practice?
No. This was later. My first drum set was like a piece together. Like it was like a Rogers kick drum and a rack tom, and then a Premier snare and floor tom with some crappy cymbals.
Tell me about the first band practice, and just for the people out there watching, like who was each member in the band and what did they do?
So Barry Hensler vocals, Andy Wendler guitar, me on drums, and David Cook on bass. And he only played that one practice, and then he went off. Then he went off to college. David Cook was the first in a series of bass players. I think about 6 or 7. It was definitely a Spinal Tap, like rotating thing.
Your first drummer was
John Stampy Pepys.
What happened to him?
He died. He died in a bizarre gardening accident.
The authorities said, best leave it
It's not
unsolved, really.
And he was replaced by.
Stumpy Joe. Eric Stumpy Joe Childs.
And what happened to Stumpy Joe?
Official explanation was he choked on vomit.
It was
Passed away.
It was actually someone else's vomit. It's not.
Ugly.
There's no real.
Well, they can't prove whose vomit it was.
Stumpy's replacement, Peter James Bond, he also died in mysterious circumstances.
He exploded on stage.
How did the band actually come together? Like you said, the first band practice was like chaos.
What was the first couple batches of songs? We were just trying to be as shocking as possible.
Who was writing the songs in general? Is everybody together?
Barry wrote the lyrics.
Uh-huh.
At least the early. I ended up writing. Well, Sex Drive I wrote. So I'm responsible for that. Yeah, me and my dirty little 14-year-old mind. Yeah, mainly Barry. Andy wrote a couple here and there throughout our career.
You guys became like pretty big.
Yeah, right. We start practicing. We have some basement parties here and there. There's like a little scene going, maybe about 10 or 12 kids. Then we play our first show in public, the Brass Bell at the University of Toledo, like Halloween '79 was the first show. That went over pretty good, probably because all the frat guys were drunk. Then we played a couple months later, and that didn't go so good. Nobody was that drunk, I think, and they just started harassing us and throwing shit at like it was not. So then we practiced some more. We had some more basement parties.
So that's what the scene was really like, because here we don't have basement party shows. It just doesn't exist. Everybody lives in apartment buildings. And
yeah, I played some great basement parties and been to some, right? It's like
first tour was like a tour of basements.
Yeah, maybe parties in Perrysburg and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And at my house. So my parents actually let me. We weren't drinking or anything.
Were you guys like straight edge hard? Like were you guys related to the hardcore scene in DC?
I was straight edge for about a year, from 1981 to 82, right in the thick of it. And then
basement parties, what's the next level?
We played this co-op in Ann Arbor, and the touch and go people were there, Tesco and Dave. They dug it and like started writing about us and stuff, and with kind of a friendship. We started playing a lot. We started getting better too. So word kind of got out.
Who's booking the shows?
Just us at this point. No booking agent. Mm-hmm. Just doing it ourselves at this point.
No email, right? Just calling people on the phone.
Everybody was pirating like long distance phone numbers, like codes. Like it's like, hey man, I got a code. Like here, right? Because you didn't want to pay for long distance to book. People were booking tours like on these codes they'd stolen, right? Stuff like that. Because you had rather than, you didn't want to put it on your parents' phone bill, because then they'd just kick you out of the house or something, right? It's like an $800 phone bill comes. But
did that get harder as you started touring like more nationally? Did you need help with touring after that, or did you just?
Well, you eventually get a booking. Got a booking agent.
Are you on a record label at this point, or?
Touch and Go.
Could you just talk about who Touch and Go is for people who don't know?
Tesco V and Dave Stimson originally.
This is Tesco V. I think you know who I am. Dave Stimson. We did Touch and Go together.
From now, Corey Rusk now runs the record label, who is our bass player. So then the scene in Detroit kind of like starts taking off, like around us and some other of the younger bands in Detroit and stuff. Negative Approach. They played their first show in my basement. So.
Oh really? Right. Back to the basements.
4306 River Road. Go check it out.
How far did you guys end up touring? Like all over the United States?
The Necros did like 5 or 6 national tours everywhere. Never made it to Europe, but we were supposed to.
You guys break up, or what happened?
No, the Misfits broke up. That's what happened.
So let's talk about that. You guys went on tour with the Misfits.
Our first West Coast tour was opening for them.
And you ended up playing drums with the Misfits.
A sound check and 2 shows. So the first one, just Irving Plaza. We were on the bill with them, and they didn't have a drummer. Googie had just quit. So they were without a drummer. So they needed somebody to, and I knew those songs inside and out in my head anyway. So we just went to New Jersey a couple days early, and I think we practiced like twice, and we had to sit down. And then I played again on the last show after Brian Damage the drummer they had got too drunk, and like Doyle removed him after about the 3rd or 4th song, something like that. He was playing my drum set anyway. The Necros were opening it. This was the last show of that tour.
Did you like being on tour in general?
It's awesome. 2 months in a van with your stinky friends, right? It's like, yeah. No, we always had fun on tour.
Not a lot of fights.
The fights? I started a riot in Miami. This is a Circle Jerks tour. These skinheads they're just sitting there throwing beer cans at the guitar player. So I'm like, don't do that. That's not cool. They're like, fuck you. Immediately, it's just a brawl on stage with everybody. It was like the Circle Jerks and the Necros and a local band called the Drills. Everybody had long hair. It was 1985 or 86. Punk rock was kind of over. Everybody was kind of trying to rock out, and everybody had long hair, even the Circle Jerks. But there's still this is like Miami Beach, right? There's still skinheads, right? Yeah, so it was a pretty contentious night after that. Everybody was a little tense. I remember they waited for us afterwards.
Oh, no.
Like, basically, they were going to jump us. Like,
how'd you get out of there?
Beat them up, basically. Like, this is the Necros. Everybody's pretty big. Andy's not small. Our roadies aren't small. Ron was like 6'3". I think they kind of got their asses kicked. They left and went down the street to a vacant lot and beat each other up, basically. Like, yeah. So, yeah.
So how did that play out at the end? So you guys went on tour nationally. Everything was going really great. And then was that like the height?
We did 2 months with Megadeth, 1986, and then took like 3 weeks off, and then did 2 more months with the Circle Jerks. And then we hung out for a couple months, recorded that fake live album, Live or Else, which is recorded in a studio out in the country near Ann Arbor. It like wasn't real. It was just kind of us jamming in the studio, and we added like crowd noise from 3 different albums. Yeah. Right. We did that when that came out, and then we just played one last show at Blondie's in Detroit and broke up.
What year?
87.
So 87, you wind it down, you said you played with...
Yeah, February 87 was the last show. Our manager said I was especially good because I didn't have anything to drink before the show, so that was good. I did tend to get a little sloppy.
You're not known for being a sloppy drummer.
Not anymore. Maybe back then. Dropping a lot of sticks if you're too drunk.
I didn't really know you from the Necros. I first saw you with the Laughing Hyenas when you were not sloppy at all. You were like just a machine of power on the drum set. The first time I saw, and we'll get into the Laughing Hyenas right now.
The Necros, hailing from Maumee, Ohio. Introducing Todd Swalla, who plays drums, Corey, who plays bass, Barry Henster, vocals, and Andy, the infamous guitar player. So, you guys hail from Maumee, Ohio. What's life like in Maumee?
Fun. Better than here.
You got any records out now?
No.
Any 45s? Tell people about your records, come on.
We've got 2 records out on Touch&Go Records, which you should buy all Touch&Go releases, everybody. Touch&Go, our first one was a 4-song EP that you can't get anymore. There weren't many pressed. The second one, the second one was a 9-song EP that's still available through Touch&Go, P.O. Box 761, Maumee, Ohio. It's not 7. It's P.O. Box 716, Maumee, Ohio 43537.